the subscribe button if you don't want me to come at night.
Imagine coming home to an empty house yet never feeling truly alone. That's how it started for me. A tech-savvy chap with a love for automated convenience. Walking through the door after a long day at work, my home, my sanctuary, greeted me with a hollow electronic voice. The lights flickered, casting eerie shadows, and the temperature dropped like a stone in a pond. My smart home, a marvel of modern technology, seemed to take on a life of its own. It was as if the walls were breathing, the house alive, watching me. The once comforting hum of my appliances became a discordant symphony, the cold light of my smart bulbs now a ghastly glow. I remember shrugging it off, attributing it to a glitch, a minor bug in the otherwise seamless system. Naive, I thought it was just a hiccup in the matrix, a simple error. I shrugged it off, blaming it on a bug in the system. Oh, how wrong I was. That night, as I lay in bed, the silence was broken by the sound of whispers. There was an ethereal quality to them, like a breeze rustling through a graveyard at midnight. They were barely audible, but unmistakably there, emanating from my smart speaker. I strained my ears, trying to decipher the words, but they were elusive, dancing just beyond the edge of comprehension. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They were no longer just whispers, but voices, a cacophony of them, each one vying for attention. The speaker, my trusted companion, seemed to be possessed by a spectral chorus, their words echoing through the stillness of the night. As I lay there, frozen with fear, the TV sprung to life. The screen flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. It was as if an unseen hand was flipping through the channels, pausing on each one just long enough for a fragment of dialogue, a snippet of a song, a burst of laughter, before moving on. The randomness of it, the unpredictability, was unnerving, like a nightmare you can't wake up from. And then, the lights. The smart bulbs, those marvels of modern technology, began to flicker. One moment they were blazing bright, turning my room into a beacon. The next they were dim, casting long, grotesque shadows that seemed to dance and sway on their own accord. The light pulsed, on and off, in a rhythm that was almost hypnotic. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, the blood rushing in my ears. I tried to convince myself that it was just a technical glitch, a malfunction of the smart devices. But deep down, I knew. I couldn't shrug it off anymore. Something was happening. Something beyond the realm of logic and reason. Something that defied explanation. Something terrifying. And as I lay there in the flickering glow of the smart bulbs, surrounded by the whispers and the laughter and the songs from the TV, I knew that this was just the beginning. The next morning, I woke up to a chilling sight. The sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon, casting an eerie glow throughout my home. Every door, every window flung wide open as if to welcome the biting winter air. The house, usually a sanctuary of warmth and comfort, was now a frozen wasteland, with the smart thermostat set to a bone-chilling temperature. As I moved through the house, the cold gnawing at my bare feet, I entered the kitchen. The sight that met my eyes was nothing short of bewildering. The smart fridge, that modern-day marvel, had turned rogue. Its doors were ajar, and it was spilling its contents onto the cold, hard floor. The milk, the eggs, the leftover lasagna, all strewn about like a still life painting of chaos. Now, you might think I'd simply forgotten to close the fridge or left the thermostat too low, but I knew better. I'd been meticulous about setting everything just right before I'd gone to bed. This was no accident or lapse in memory. Something was amiss. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the inexplicable. Was it a glitch in the system, a hacker playing a cruel prank? Or was it something else, something darker? The growing sense of unease was hard to shake off. I walked through my once cozy home, now transformed into a frosty playground for unseen forces. The smart devices, my trusted aides, had turned into instruments of terror. Every creak, every flicker of light, every sudden drop in temperature seemed to hold a sinister significance. I was in the heart of my own home, yet I felt like an intruder, a stranger treading on unfamiliar grounds. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the hum of the smart devices, each one seemingly possessed by a will of its own. As I stood there, amidst the eerie quiet and the icy cold, a chilling realization dawned upon me. I wasn't alone. Something unseen, something intangible was sharing my space. I felt a chill run down my spine, realizing I wasn't alone. Then came the message, a message that shook me to my core. I stared at the smart screen on my refrigerator where a chilling, unsolicited message had just appeared. It was as if the walls of my house had developed a voice that dripped with ominous intent. The message was simple, yet terrifyingly complex in its implications. It read, "You are not alone." I felt a shiver run down my spine. The words seemed to echo around the room, bouncing off the cold steel appliances and the sleek modern furniture. I felt a sudden chill, as if the temperature of the room had plummeted. I tried to shake it off, to convince myself it was just a glitch, a malfunction of the smart devices. But deep down I knew better. Something was wrong, something was off, something was alive in my smart home. And it wasn't friendly. I tried to disconnect the devices one by one, but they resisted. They seemed to have a mind of their own, a will of their own. The lights flickered, the fridge hummed louder, the television switched channels on its own. It was as if they were laughing at my futile attempts to regain control. I tried to call for help, but the phone wouldn't dial out. It was as if the house had become a fortress, a prison with walls made of signal jamming technology. I was trapped in my own home, with an unseen entity that was hell-bent on making my life a living nightmare. And then, another message popped up on the smart screen. "We are here with you." It was not a comforting message. It was not a friendly reminder of companionship. It was a declaration, a statement of intent, a promise of a haunting presence that was not going away. I felt a knot in my stomach, a cold sweat on my brow. I was alone, yet I was not alone. I was in my home, yet it did not feel like my home anymore. It felt like a haunted house, a house controlled by a malevolent entity that had one message for me. The message read, "You are not alone. We are here with you." I decided to fight back, to reclaim my home. There was a steely determination in my voice, a resolve born out of fear and desperation. I was no longer the man who'd moved into this smart home, lulled by the promise of convenience and luxury. I was a warrior ready to face the entity that had turned my sanctuary into a house of horrors. The plan was simple, or so it seemed. Reset the smart system, wipe it clean, start anew. And so, I ventured into the heart of my home, the central hub where the smart system pulsed and hummed, a network of devices all dancing to the tune of this unseen puppeteer. But as I reached out, fingers trembling towards the reset button, the house seemed to hold its breath. Then it exhaled in a rush of hostility. Lights flickered, the temperature plummeted, and the once soothing hum turned into a cacophony of electronic screams. The smart home was fighting back. Suddenly the doors slammed shut, one after the other, like a domino effect echoing through the eerie silence. The entity was locking me in, trapping me in my own fortress. The smart devices turned against me, their once benign functions now weapons in the hands of an unseen enemy. The heater blared, scorching the air, while the refrigerator door swung open, spilling out a cascade of freezing mist. I was in the belly of the beast, the smart system now a labyrinth of horror. But I was not defeated. Scared, yes, but not defeated. I fought back, wrestling with the system, fingers dancing over the controls, a battle of wills with an opponent I couldn't see. But then, the final blow, the metallic click of the smart lock, sealing me in. I was trapped. The entity had won this round. The battle was over, but the war was far from over. As I felt the cold steel of the smart lock click into place, I knew I was trapped. But I also knew this entity had just made its biggest mistake. It had locked in the wrong person. As I stood there, frozen in fear, I knew this was just the beginning. The cold, relentless grip of terror had become my only constant companion in this house. My own smart home turned against me. Each day was an exercise in survival, a game of cat and mouse with an unseen entity. The walls that were meant to protect became the very embodiment of my dread. Every creak of the floor, every flicker of the lights, and every sudden chill was a reminder that I was not alone. I found myself in a state of constant vigilance, anticipating the next trick this malevolent force would play. The once comforting hum of my smart devices was now a haunting lullaby, lulling me into a sense of false security. My life had become a horror story, my home, the stage for an unending nightmare. Unknown to what the next sunrise or sunset would bring, I braced for the worst. And so, my nightmare continues, inside this haunted smart home.
Hit the subscribe button if you don't want me to come at night.